After 4 years of waiting, Andor, the latest live-action Star Wars series, has arrived on Disney+. This time we're following the life of Cassian Andor before the events of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. However, this new series takes a darker, grittier look at the Star Wars universe. The series has premiered with our first 3 episodes. Here's our review and breakdown of the first 3 episodes. Let's go! Greetings everyone, or greetings my young Padawans in this case, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Star Wars Now. Before we dive into all 3 episodes, use the force and hit that subscribe and like button to never miss a video for myself and the team here at Star Wars Now. As always, if you're talking about Star Wars, then we want to hear about it. Don't forget to check back weekly on Wednesdays for our latest reviews from Star Wars Andor, and throughout the week we'll have shorts and breakdown videos of all the best moments from the series, because oh boy, this one's going to be trouble for the Star Wars fandom, but in a good way, So launching a Star Wars series with 3 episodes isn't what usually happens at Lucasfilm and Disney. I will say I think Andor needed this to happen. While the first episode is great, it does feel slightly weak compared to the other Star Wars media we're familiar with, which might put some off of the series. However, having 3 episodes up front gives a better look at the series we're dealing with. Anyway, enough of that, we'll come back to that in conclusion. Here's our review. Spoiler warning. The story of Cassian's beginning, of course, starts with episode 1. But not only do we have Cassian in 5 BBY, but we also get some flashbacks of Cassian in his early years, on the planet of Kenari, not Fest as we were previously told. And this mystery does get a bit more interesting, so stick around. With the beginning of Rogue One prequel series, there are some interesting similarities between the two. One of the nice returns is we get a planet titles when we see a new planet. This very much gives this universe an alive sort of feeling, which is cemented in numerous planet-side scenes. Episode 1 does start very much with a lot of different planets, a similarity to the first act of Rogue One and the amount of planet hopping that did. Whether this was intentional or not, who knows, but it does make the first episode very dense and crowded, for better or worse. However, a good thing is that all these worlds feel lived in and real. You see these people's lives and how they live. The streets are crowded with life and people are just going about their days. From lowly shipyard workers to the desk workers at corporate security eating noodles. Everyone screams of their own character and have their own lives. And talking of this, we have a lot of continuity mostly through the reuse of various props seen in previous Star Wars shows and movies. Probably helping this is a TV series and does not have the movie budget to make good or many new things, you get what I mean. This is a good thing though, it's not a bad thing reusing props. There was a lot of prosthetics and puppetry from The Force Awakens, with the Lugger Beast, the Crane Hound outfits of Solo, and even some alien prosthetics from The Last Jedi to name a few. And this isn't to say Andor does not have designs of its own, far from it. One of my favourite being of the general design of B2EMO, or B, the droid of Andor's. Also, by the way, B2EMO? B2EMO? Droid's an emo. I want heavy metal music and depressing stuff playing with that droid everywhere he goes. Now of course he is a red old looking square droid, with a very unique way of speaking. This definitely puts it apart from droids we have seen before in the Star Wars universe, which is not an easy thing considering how many iconic droid characters we've had over how many years now. The emotions which this droid was able to portray with limited movements and speech was also cool to see. He definitely stole the show. Now Andor also has some new ship designs as well, with Cassian's own starship, which we later find as being borrowed from a shipyard, or as having some Y-wing engines to it, though it seems like we do see a full Y-wing in the shipyard as well. But one of the coolest designs which we've briefly seen in episode 1, but more in episode 3, are the ships of the corporate security, which look very similar to the LAATs of the Republic, but more blocky and almost like a cheaper version. Costuming is also on point, with all our civilians having cool outfits from the workers to the merchants, but each having variations in outfits such as our corporate security officers. This even comes up as part of their character, with one of the officers having tailored his outfit to perfectly suit him, showing how uptight and professional he wants to be, compared to others which have more loose-fitting outfits and are willing to play loose with their work and do the bare minimum. Sounds like Sir Khan wants to join the Empire. On the actor side, a lot of the minor characters are portrayed in such fascinating ways. From a corporate security chief who wants the incident brushed under the rug, as said previously, some communications officers just eating noodles and doing the bare minimum of their job, to a character like Nurchi and Vetch threatening Andor to paying his debts. Everyone in the show does a great job at portraying their characters and giving them life. Even characters who are rarely on screen for only a moment, like the man who plays the bell on Ferrex at the beginning and end of the work day. He's pretty cool. And talking of the music in Andor is another thing that complements this show well. It's very subtle, but enhances the scenes in interesting ways. There's also some more different music, such as electro music heard in the cantina/brothel, giving a very different feel from the establishments we're used to in Star Wars. In episode 2, we also get some interesting music choices, which at first don't feel very Star Wars, but do fit the atmosphere of the series extremely well. Speaking of episode 2, finally we're introduced to Marva. She's the adoptive mother of Cassian, and as we can see, she cares for Cassian a fair amount, going as far as to see she has previously covered up where he's actually from. It turns out Cassian is not from Fest as many originally believed, but this is actually a really cool way to do a retcon from where Cassian grew up, by making the records fake. Episode 2 does see us spend more time with Cyril Khan and the corporate security company, especially as they learn who Cassian Andor is. Khan appears to be going against the wishes of his bosses, therefore preparing to search for Andor on Ferrix, using the corporate security militia. However, this will be likely leading to the Empire arriving on the planet, as the incompetents will probably be viewed by the Empire at local meetings, which, funnily enough, the boss who wanted to do the mere minimum was right about in a round way again, so it's kind of funny how that comes full circle. I've got to say that Khan's inspiring speech was a little cringe, though it does give us an updated look at their character. He's striking us as one type of officer who does not have the confidence that his rank usually carries. It seems like he's trying to seek the approval of those above him, and even below him, perhaps does not know much about himself at the end of the day. He's a character who's probably has faced adversity or pay, and got himself a very cushy job only to find how the real world actually works, and this is shown a bit more in episode 3, and I'll touch on it in just a moment. Luthen Rael, played by Stellan Skarsgård, makes his appearance in the second episode. Already we can see there's a sense of mystery around this character. He's flying in an advanced starship, one that appears to have an onboard computer but can talk back and respond. The starship has some very cool Corellian components to it, which is very nice, and might give a clue away about his character. Also, the fact he's buying an Imperial transponder which can identify Imperial ships in a certain area, and is contacted in a very interesting way by Bix. It all alludes to what's going on with his character, and I think it will link well with what we know is coming up in the Andor series. Specifically, when we look at the trailer, we know at some point Cassian and Luthen are going to run into an Arrestor-style cruiser, so that probably transporter might come in handy if they ever got it back, which they didn't, so that's a shame. Thankfully, episode 3 started where I wanted it to. Since we first glimpsed the crash ship on Kenari, I've been eager to explore it. Now, the child tribe of Kenari, after walking past their exploited planet from a mining operation, get to the crashed ship, but the leader gets shot, someone young Cassian seems to have a crush on. Now, while everyone ferries this sort of young person back to the camp presumably, Cassian climbs into the bowels of the starship to explore what it's all about, and even takes out his frustration on the equipment within. Now, we did get a little glimpse in episode 2 that it might be something to do with the Confederacy of Independent Systems, otherwise known as the CIS. Before I go to the next part, can we appreciate that Cassian only loses his temper when he sees his reflection in the screen, or rather panels? That might give a clue away about his character there. Maybe he hates his own appearance or something like that, I don't know, but there's definitely more nuances to draw from this scene in particular. Aboard the ship in the past, we meet a younger Marva and her partner Clem Andor, as well as a clean B2 EMO, who seem to be scavengers picking apart fallen starships before the authorities arrive to clear up their own mess. Marva sedates a young Cassian and essentially kidnaps him, a boy who does not even know basic, that's the language by the way, believing he will be killed by the Republic when they arrive, which is interesting. Talking of the Republic, it kind of confuses here that Marva mentions that Cassian's tribe just killed a Republic officer. However, that officer is from the Confederacy of Independent Systems, with the CIS logo on his shoulder. It gets even stranger when we hear the chatter about a Republic frigate entering the atmosphere and heading towards their location. I wish we could see that on screen, by the way, because it would have been a Venusaur. Maybe it would have been like a Pelzer frigate or something like that. That could have been pretty cool. I would love to have seen that, okay? Now, the person the child tribe killed was a member of the CIS, so there could be a mistake, or at best, just goes to show how Andor doesn't like either the CIS or the Republic, and conflate the two. I'm referring to the Andors there, by the way, as Marva doesn't seem to like them, Clem, who doesn't seem to like them, so yeah. Speaking of Clem, we also do learn a little later in the episode that Clem Andor, who is played by Gary Beadle by the way, was hanged in the street of Ferrix later on, leaving only Cassian and Marva. Perhaps this was some rebellious attitude which he was hanged for, giving us an idea about what formed Cassian as a person. Now, just quickly rewinding and taking a break here for a second, this now makes up more sense of what's going on in the show. In the teaser trailers, we see clone troopers on a planet. This planet is now likely to be Ferrex, and it's probably just after Order 66 occurred before we actually get the Stormtroopers. Now we know Cassian's father was a sort of a rebel against the CIS and Imperial regime. Well, specifically, he was a rebel against the Imperial Republic regime. Therefore, he sided with the CIS in a sense. So I wonder... there's more theories here now, there's more theories. I'll get back to you on this later on. Stick around for our next video. Oh, by the way, a nice little detail is that Cassian's hideout, i.e. his personal one away from Marva's home, is that it's Andor's ship from back in the day, or the Andor ship from back in the day. That's going to get confusing. But in episode 3, we see the ship Andor's used, i.e. Clem and Marva. This is the same ship Cassian is living on Ferrex, though it's crashed out and sort of burnt out at this point in time. Now back to the present, Bix meets Luthen Rael as he arrives on Ferrex. These two seem to have a very friendly and established relationship. Perhaps we'll learn more about how they previously met. Andor appears to be a very character-focused series, something I think we've needed here in the Star Wars universe for some time now. I also have to note that Ron Cook being in Star Wars is something I never knew I wanted, and just being a weird little old man making small talk on the shuttle ride over with Luthen is a really cute scene. Luthen meeting Andor is the conversation between the pair we've been looking forward to for the most. We've seen this scene before as it releases a special look before the series' air date. But the set piece of the fight within the warehouse, where Luthen and Andor's trade was going down, is actually an amazing scene. Gunfire between the corpse and our rebels as hanging chains swing around the room and drop massive metal components. It felt very chaotic and dangerous, as it should be, and really saw the situation our two rebels are in. With the corporate security forces hunting down Cassian, we really see how disliked they are on Ferrex, and how these people band together. They all start banging on metal to warn the others. Shops shut, people run to their homes. They do not like these people they are under the jurisdiction of, and it massively shows. This isn't where it ends, as friends of Cassian's, Bix and Brasso, actively try to help Cassian escape. Bix however gets arrested and handcuffed to a wall, and Tim gets shot trying to save her. Now firstly, Tim as a name of two M's is the only way they made Tim a Star Wars name. And it was his fault for the corporate security to come to the planet in the first place, so he kind of, he kind of gets what he deserves. But Brasso's a character I really love, and hopefully we'll see more of him sometime in the future. He's played by Joblin Sibtan, not only helping Cassian as a friend, saying he'll provide a fake alibi for Cassian, but then goes and sabotages a corporate security ship and causes it to blow up in the best way possible, by attaching a giant weight to it. Bit of a heavy situation. Anyway, while the security forces on the antagonists in the series, you do almost feel for Cyril Khan as he loses fellow officers, after not only being gagged and bound by Cassian, but then fooled by Cassian when they use the decoy speeder. His emotions are likely from a failure to capture Andor, but also the death of his men at the same time. This failure will cost him, both from the mental toll, but also as a career move as well. Towards the end of episode 3, everyone comes to terms with what has happened. One scene I like is Andor boarding Luthen's ship. It causes flashbacks to the past, when Marva rescued him from a downed CIS cruiser. Also, I think Andor is just amazed by how cool Luthen's own ship really is. I like it, and I want to see it more. This is now twice that Cassian has to leave his home for his own protection, and become something else, with both times being spurred on by deaths. He becomes someone new each time he leaves on a planet, from Kassa, the child of Kenai, becoming Cassian Andor, the son of Marva Andor, now Cassian Andor, the lowlife, eventually becoming Captain Cassian Andor of the Rebel Alliance. Obviously the point of Marva Andor essentially kidnapping a native child from a home planet, even if it was the right thing to do in case he was killed, feels very off. She had the best intentions, and later we learn that the mining accident turned Kenai into an inhospitable planet, with Cassian still hunting for his long-lost sister. Will he find her on his travels? As a rebel, I hope this is something the show will get into, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Andor's launch as a series has been fantastic. I've got to commend the character development and structure that is taking place in the series. Things feel a little more real and in perspective compared to the likes of Mandalorian or Obi-Wan Kenobi. Overall, Andor feels more grounded as a series. The musical score of Andor helps the show feel different, which is good. We need different shows. As much as the ones I've just mentioned, like Mando and Obi-Wan, are fantastic, we don't always want the same thing. Nicholas Patel's sublime score really helps reinforce the different, gritty world we find Andor in. Some may feel slightly lost with the show as it does start rather slowly. Thankfully we got 3 episodes as a premiere special to help with that, but let's not forget that Andor is a large story with a large ensemble cast. It will take time for the series to come out of the gates firing on all cylinders. Overall, the show once again proves you don't need Jedi, Sith, lightsabers or clone troopers to be successful. Building great world development with unique and interesting characters works super well. Andor could easily be the foundation and template for many more Star Wars universe projects further down the pipeline. Using a planetary security force instead of just giving us stormtroopers was an excellent move to give us more human performances, not obscured and hidden by helmets. And yet, this is how the books and everything works, with planetary security forces being the first line of keeping the peace in the Empire. Just like how Solo, a Star Wars story, gave us general army forces of the Empire. This is giving us the police forces and makes the galaxy far far away feel much more lived in and cohesive as a whole. Whether it can stand up to the scrutiny, Andor's giving it has to be seen, but so far, it does an excellent job. While the series may not be using large references, that's not to say it has none. Soon I imagine the wiki page of Wikipedia will be lighting up with obscure references dropped in the first 3 episodes. An example is things like Ardani phrase books, the Starship Sea, and of course some more information on the Empire. Something I'm personally looking forward to. Okay, Exalted Ones, that's myself on Star Wars Now. Let us know your honest thoughts on Andor in the comment section below, because we really want to know about it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news, lore, and more. You can also follow us on social media as well, but make sure to let us know what you think in the video comment section below. Because if we're talking Star Wars, then we want to hear about it. Okay, I've been Captain Jack, that's it for me on Star Wars Now, and I'll see you very soon. May the Force be with you.